Blog Talk Radio.
It's time to start.
It is time to start. Welcome to Let's Talk About It Live on Blog Talk Radio. I'm your host, as always, Darren Neuberger, coming to you from the beautiful and lovely warm weather climate of Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. It is August 11th, and the importance of today's show is that it is going to be my last show of the summer. I'm going to take a little 3-week break, recharge my batteries, and come back strong right after the September long weekend. So what a great way to finish off my summer run with an unbelievable guest. We have Roslyn Franken, young adult cancer survivor, author, an incredible story, an incredible journey that she's taken on her life. I'm going to let Roslyn explain that to you, but you do not want to miss this lady. She is unbelievable. I've been trying, and I've been looking at some of the things she's done in the past over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, it's going to be a pretty crazy show with Roslyn on here. Let's see, what can I talk about for the next couple of minutes? Lots of good things. Young Adult Cancer Canada. Jeff Eaton, great guy. They have launched a program called Goaltender. If you get a chance, I won't say anything else about it. It's a great thing. It's a great tool for someone that's, post-cancer. Check it out. Goaltender, Young Adult Cancer Canada. Let's talk about it. Inspiring stories from young adult cancer survivors. The book of the summer, of the spring, hopefully the fall, and of course for the winter. A collection of 40 young adult cancer survivor stories put together by yours truly, but I'm not the star of the show. The other 40 people in the book really are the stars of the show. Check it out, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or my website. Without further ado, I am going to get the star of our show on today, and let's hear a little bit more about Roslyn Franken. Roslyn, how are you?
I am doing great, Darren. How are you?
Fantastic. If I was any better, there'd be two of me. Is that an old expression? It is, yeah. So, Roslyn, listen, I've been checking out some of the things you've been doing in the last, oh, man, how many years? Your story is incredible. The things that you are doing now to empower and help people are just amazing. And then when you reached out to me, I was so excited that you wanted to be on my show, and I'm very privileged to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you so much. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. It really is.
So in true Let's Talk About It fashion, I always let the star of the show, which is you, just give us an introduction. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. Talk about your life right now. So Roslyn Franken, who are you?
Who am I? Well, my name's Roslyn Franken, and I live in Ottawa, Canada. I'm originally from Montreal, moved to Ottawa back in 1991. And I've had quite an interesting path to get me to where I am now, but if you're asking me where I am in life now, well, I just celebrated my 45th birthday back in May. Yes, I say my age proudly. And I have written a book called The A-List, 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living. And this book was truly inspired by my experiences as a cancer survivor, for sure, and also having overcome my own struggles with food, weight, and lifestyle obstacles, for sure. So this book was born out of all that, and I promote my full-time job. I'm fully self-employed, and it is my mission, my passion to share these principles with the world through my book and through my coaching programs and through the motivational speaking that I do in organizations and to groups and really to, whoever will have me.
Yeah, I get you. I understand. It's I was reading a little bit of your bio, and you have done some pretty crazy things. You've been on some great TV, radio programs across North America, like NBC and CTV and the A Channel, USA Today, Vancouver Sun, Montreal Gazette, to name a few. That means that whatever it is that you are saying, that whatever message you have to the people, they're listening to it and they love it. So good for you.
Well, and it really is a full-time job putting yourself out there like this, and the message that I bring to people is one of hope, of one of encouragement, to really inspire people to know that you can transform yourself. You really, really can. Another thing that I do is I host a radio show, a couple of radio shows. One is How to Thrive After 35 Talk Radio, and then another one is called Wellness Wisdom on Motivational Radio. And again, on both of these, it's on the How to Thrive After 35, bringing on guests, much like yourself, like what you're doing, to have people come on and inspire other people. It's all about being inspired, because so many times we let our age, or we find our age or other excuses, our health condition or whatever it might be, we use it as an excuse not to go after the things that we want in life. And I often say to people that when I was at my heaviest weight back in 2004, I mean, if anybody would have told me that I would have written a book that helps people eat healthy and control their weight and manage their stress, that I would have written a book about that and I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have laughed my head off, because it was so far off the radar that you just don't know where your life experiences are going to take you, but it's really about being open to possibilities. So that's so much of what I do, is to help people open themselves up to what is actually possible.
That's awesome, and I understand. I mean, for me as well, like when I was 34, diagnosed with cancer, I'm just a dumb old jock from Saskatchewan, and never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I'd be attached to a book, especially something that I spearheaded. Like, I thought, there's no crazy way I want to do that. But you're right. Once you're diagnosed with cancer, or come to realization in your life at some point that things just aren't working, you can do so much better. It's just unbelievable, just the energy that comes out of you, right?
Oh, totally. And I mean, I don't think I realized in the moments as I was going through the cancer what impact it was going to have on me later on, or even what impact it was having on me then. I think sometimes you kind of only put two and two together after the fact, right? When you're in it, you're kind of in it, so it's not the same thing. Right. I don't know if that makes sense, but does that make sense?
Yeah, sure it does.
So how old were you? How old were you?
34. When I was 34. Yeah.
Yeah, I was 29.
My wife and I were not quite married for 3 years upon being diagnosed. So
wow.
It was like, whoa. She didn't. The chances of her being a widow at the age of 29, because I had acute leukemia, were right in our faces. Like, this is not what we, sickness and health. We were taking that a little bit to the extreme, I thought. So, but let's talk about your cancer experience, your cancer journey. You said you were 29. Maybe just walk us through that whole, what you're diagnosed with, symptoms leading up to it. How long did it take to be actually diagnosed? Because I know a lot of people, young adults that go through cancer, sometimes live with the symptoms for a long time before they have an actual diagnosis. Maybe give us your cancer story.
Well, the odd thing is, I didn't really notice any symptoms at all typical of Hodgkin's. I had Hodgkin's disease stage 2, that's cancer of the lymph nodes, and literally how I knew something was wrong was I was working for a book publisher actually at the time, and we had this wonderful sales meeting in Marco Island, Florida. And we had this amazing beach party. I had a great night, and I went to sleep this one night, and 3 o'clock in the morning just woke up and could not lift my head up off the pillow. My neck was swollen and painful, and I didn't have a clue what was wrong. The only thing I could think of was I had actually eaten lobster for the first time that night, and I thought, oh, my God, I must be having an allergic reaction to lobster.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so, and you're Canadian, right? You're from Alberta?
Yeah.
Well, this was the one and only time that I had actually traveled to the States without medical insurance.
Ooh.
Because I was working for a U.S. company, and I was there on the company business, and it never dawned on me to get Blue Cross or anything. So here I am being taken to the nearest clinic, to the hotel, and well, that's a whole story in itself.
Oh, definitely.
But they thought maybe I had a virus, or they thought I had, maybe I had mono or something like that, and they gave me some antibiotics and told me to see my doctor when I got back to Ottawa. So I got back to Ottawa and saw my doctor, and he tested me for mono and thought maybe it was a virus. Let's sort of check this out, and he kept marking this lump in my neck to see, how it would change and things. And it was painful. And to this day, the oncologist says that pain that I felt was not because of the tumor. And I never truly understood that, but that is what alerted me to know something was wrong, was the pain and the swelling. So eventually the doctor decided, okay, he ruled out all the things that he thought it could be, and then sent me for an ultrasound. And of course, that was an experience because the technician was doing her thing, with the wand over my neck, and then she just got up and left the room in the middle. Like, didn't say anything, just got up and left the room. And I'm going, okay. And then this doctor walks in, who turned out to be the chief radiologist. He took over, and he's, continued the test, and I'm going, okay. And then he starts saying, oh dear, oh, yeah. I'm like, what, And he just sat me down, and he just says, well, it looks like you have lymphoma, but we won't know for sure till we do the biopsy, so we'll get that scheduled, and there you go. And he walked out of the room. And I'm like 29 years old, and I'm sitting there. I didn't know what lymphoma was.
No.
I didn't even know what a biopsy was. Maybe that's embarrassing to say, 29. I don't know, maybe most 29-year-olds know what that word means, but I had no idea what any of what he said meant. And I was by myself. So as I walked out of the hospital, and I saw him sitting in his little office, and I knocked on the door, and I asked him what he meant, and he says, it looks like you might have, cancer of the lymph nodes, but, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And that's how he left me. So, I can't even express to you, after he said the word cancer, I don't think I heard much of anything else that he may have said after that, right? The C word. And my mom was going through cancer at the same time. My mother actually passed away in 2004 of primary peritoneal cancer, which is cancer of the lining of the abdomen, a very rare form of cancer. And so back in 94, when I was diagnosed, she would have been going through her cancer maybe for the third time that it had come back.
Wow.
So for me, it was like, oh my God, how would I tell my mother? That was so painful to have to tell my mother that I might have cancer,
I do know, because cancer doesn't run in my family. So it was very foreign to us. And you talked about not knowing what biopsy was. I didn't even know what an oncologist was, and I was 34. So I guess we're just naive to the disease, but I didn't know what your mom was going through. That's a tough one, especially, that's really tough.
It was, and the whole thing of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I had just started that incredible job with this book publisher. It was like a fantastic job, and you're numb. Like, okay, now what? And but when I went for the biopsy, it was extremely painful after, and the surgeon, I asked him, I said, you didn't tell me it was going to be this painful. And he said, well, we didn't realize how deep the tumor was, that the tumor in my neck was actually resting on the main artery to my brain. And he said we had to cut through so many layers of muscle in my neck just to reach it, that's why, I couldn't walk properly for the longest time. My head was like attached to my shoulder, like the muscles were just cut so much. But that was, trust me, the least of my problems. So when he finally checked the tumor, he said basically, well, I have good news and I have bad news. And I said, just tell me, right? I just wanted to know. And of the cancers that one can get, Hodgkin's is, I guess, one of the better ones, if there is such a thing. And I just sat there and I just said, okay, what do I need to do? What do I do? Like, what's next? I just wanted to just get on with it, what? Just tell me what I need to do. And he set me up with the oncologist and found out I'm going to have 9 months of chemotherapy and I'm going to lose all my hair. And he told me all the side effects. And the first treatment, what happened? Between the first two treatments, they didn't know how far to space them apart at first. So the first one was the absolute worst because every single side effect that he said you could possibly have, I had.
Yeah.
And when you get a little canker in your mouth on your gums?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was like the whole inside of my cheeks. So
Yeah.
I just sit there and put like ice cubes in my mouth. But luckily, once they spaced them more properly, it wasn't as bad, like in terms of side effects. But it's amazing how resilient you can find yourself when you need to be. I just became like this. I don't want to say machine-like, but it was just like, okay, I just got to do what I need to do and just get through this. And I was blessed in many ways because the job I had, I was working from a home-based office. I'd just gotten that job in August, and this would have been December, that the beach party. So it's like I got that job just in time. I like to think of it that way because it makes me feel better about things when I can sort of make a connection to say like that the fact that I got that job at the time that I did was uncanny because being able to work from home, I was able to manage my own schedule, right? So, and I was very open with the accounts that I was managing, and I told them about my circumstance. I had enough time to build a good relationship with them, so I didn't always have to go driving. Like I was responsible for all of Eastern Canada, and I didn't always have to travel to meet with them face to face. We just did the job over the phone, and for the most part, I never missed a deadline. I just kept everything going.
Wow, that's crazy. So you did work during your treatments and stuff then?
I did.
Yeah.
But I had the luxury of managing my own schedule. So if I didn't feel well, I could lie down, or I could still take care of myself. I couldn't even imagine going into an office or oh my God, couldn't even imagine.
No, I mean people don't, unless they've been through chemotherapy and radiation or surgeries or whatever your cancer treatments entailed. They don't understand the treatments themselves. Like chemotherapy, we all know that it's poison and it's not good for you, and it makes your hair fall out and you're going to puke. That's like the stigma of cancer right there. But man, it knocks the crap out of you. For one thing, you're dead tired, and sure your hair falls out, and you don't always puke from chemotherapy. I was treatments for 2 years straight. I had over 600 chemo treatments during my course. And
600.
Yeah, I had a long protocol. I had acute
600.
Yeah, and they actually cut a few out because my liver, I imagine, was going a little bit funny on me, so they cut them out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a crazy journey. It was. I was in treatment for 2 years straight. So my option was either have a bone marrow transplant, which they didn't want to do because I had ALL, which is a kid's cancer, and they find that doing this arduous and long protocol is the best thing for the person long term, because if I didn't take to a bone marrow, I'd be dead, right? So yeah, it's crazy. It's unbelievable that you have to go through that many chemo treatments, but that was my protocol. And I had 2 weeks brain radiation too.
You had what? 2 weeks of
brain radiation.
Of brain radiation on top of that.
Yeah.
Wow. You see, when I hear something like that, I feel like I don't want to minimize what I went through, but I just think it could have been worse. You know what I mean?
Right.
That it could have been.
Go ahead. You can keep going.
No, I'm just saying like that it could have been so much worse. Or I saw like what my mother went through, and like from things that I've read, I've seen that because of the type of cancer I had, and because there's cancer in my family, like my mom passed away from cancer. My mom had a twin sister who had cancer. From everything I've read, is that my probability of having the same or some other type of cancer is higher than somebody who's never had what I had. Right. And so people have asked me, like, well, how do you, live knowing that? And I go, like, I don't think about it. Like, I know what the statistics say, and that's so much of what drives me in the work that I do, because I don't have control over that. I don't have full control. There's no guarantees, even if you do everything right. Mm-hmm. So I look at it that, you know what, if I take good care of myself, and a big thing for me is managing stress. I believe that if you don't allow, anxiety and fear and worry and stress to overtake you, if you manage your challenges in a healthy way, in a productive way, if you eat healthy, if you exercise and you laugh and you enjoy life, as you find enjoyment in life as much as you can, that's all you can do, to at least minimize your risk.
That's right. I like to call it doing your part. That's all you have to do your part. Whatever happens after that, it's not your fault.
Exactly.
And getting cancer sometimes isn't your fault either. Just sometimes these things, if you smoke and drink heavy all the time, then you're kind of, there's a good chance something could happen. Anything could happen to you. It could be heart, it could be anything else, right? But if you do exactly what you just said, just do your part, and then whatever happens, it's not your fault.
It's doing my part, and I believe to each his own. But I see some people who live so much in fear or worrying about their health, or that they go so extreme on what they eat, and they go so extreme on having to do X amount of exercise, and they're so rigid in their thinking that in their extremism, the pressure that puts on them to always be doing everything so rigidly and perfectly, I believe can be just as bad for your health as, the occasional piece of chocolate cake or something. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah. And I also agree with the fact that stress has a big part in cancer diagnosis. I mean, you think about when you're diagnosed, and sure, for me, I was active, healthy, and I'm not going to lie, I like to drink beer and stuff, but that's just part of who I was. But I was always doing more than I had when I was eating. I was always exercising, always working out, always playing baseball, hockey, golf, whatever, right? And then for it to happen to me, there's 5 kids in my family, and my dad said just this past summer that of all the people in my family that I had never would have thought it'd be cancer, it'd be you. He said, because you're the guy that always made sure you took care of yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I wish it was you too, buddy. I said to him, kind of laugh, right? But it's true, though. I did. And to have it happen is like, whoa. And I think when I think back before I was diagnosed, I was under quite a bit of stress, and I mean that's a huge factor.
It's a huge factor, and I believe that a lot of our stress is self-inflicted.
Oh, no kidding. Kidding.
And that's a big, in my book, there's it's called the A list, right? Because there's 9 principles, and they all start with the letter A. And one of the principles is all about attitudes, and there's certain attitudes that we have in the way that we approach our life that we don't realize how much extra pressure and stress we put on ourselves because of these attitudes that we have for whatever reason. I mean, we're wired a certain way, but when you become aware of it, of what these attitudes are, and you realize that you don't have to continue being that way, because if it's not healthy, if it's not in your best interest for your health and well-being, then there's something you can do about it. Because there's not a whole lot in this world that you have control over, but you do have control over things like your attitudes and your beliefs and how you approach life. There are things you can do. Definitely.
Exactly. So let's your cancer. You had diagnosed 29 Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 2. So you had 9 months treatments, and you're just totally finished after 9 months, then you had to go for follow-up, and is that how the protocol kind of played out?
Yep, that's exactly what it was, and my oncologist has since retired, so now pretty much my general practitioner is it, and it's funny because I'm self-employed, I don't have, like when you work for a company, you have your group health care plan?
Yes.
When you're self-employed, that's the one thing that I just don't really understand is it's been 15 years? I'm 15 years out now. I'm a survivor, and I can't get critical life insurance. I have no protection. If God forbid it happened to me again, I have no protection because no insurance company will touch me.
That's weird. I thought actually it was when you go, if you can maintain that 5 years post-treatment remission, or even if your doctor says you're cured, but we know that's a funny word, that cure in cancer, but if you're 15 years, I mean, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. So I challenge anybody listening to the show, if you're in the insurance business And you have a plan for me. I want to hear about it. There you
That's
go.
not going to cost you $10,000 a month to sign up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Huh. I didn't know that. Well, good to know. That's good to know because I'm sure I'll be in the same boat then because I just had my 5-year cancerversary last week. So, yay.
Cancerversary? Is that what you call it?
You bet.
I never heard that term.
Well, now you do. You can use it all you want.
Cancerversary. Wow. But until I started doing what I do for a living,
yeah.
I would say so around 2004, between 1994 when I was diagnosed and 2004, I never really talked about my cancer. It was I went through it, I did it, got through it, and it wasn't something. It was almost this feeling like, okay, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to, wake anything up in there, like as if it was a bad thing to talk about it. Isn't that? I don't know if that's strange or not, but
no, it's not strange because my whole thing is young adults because I was 34, so I was even a little newer when I was diagnosed. That's why I call this radio show Let's Talk About It. The book that I put together is called Let's Talk About It: Inspiring Stories from Young Adult Cancer Survivors. And I found that because us young people don't want to talk about it. We just want it. We've been there, kind of got the T-shirt and just took off, right? But the thing that I want to do is let other people know that we are not bulletproof from this disease and that it can hit anybody. So the more we talk about it and don't talk about all the negative stuff, like sure it sucks to have cancer and the chemo wasn't fun and the radiation was just kind of strange to me, but the fact is now I'm 5 years out and my new me is fantastic and this life post cancer has just been incredible. So let's hear the good stories.
Good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Good for you. Yeah, I mean, the cancer part is part of my story. It's part of it. It is part of who I am. And now, when I do my motivational speaking, I share that part of it. And it also, going through it at the same time as my mother and understanding what my mother went through and having my mother as a role model in terms of how she dealt with her cancer was incredible. And it just taught me so much of the power of choice that we have in how we deal with those curveballs in life. Because, I mean, in my case, cancer was just one of a stream of many things. Like we face so many adversities, right? Mm-hmm. And in my case, cancer was one of them, but it sure was good training on how to deal with the others. I'll tell you. Because you figure if you can get through that, if you can get through the diagnosis, first of all, just that initial shock to your system of like, what? Right?
Yeah,
the total disbelief. You're blindsided.
You're blindsided by it, yeah. You have cancer and you're 29, I was 34, and doing the things we want to do and really just ready to grasp our life and stuff, and then boom, you have cancer and your stomach drops. And I think that was harder than some of the treatments, just hearing those words. But then,
exactly.
After you get through it and stuff and realize that you can get through it, it's like, whoa. And when you think back of, after every cancerversary you have after that, like year 1, year 2, and for you to year 15, which is unbelievable. I mean, it just, you have to stick out your chest a little bit and say, I'm a cancer survivor. I can do anything. That's my whole philosophy. There's nothing that I can't do because I'm, coming face to face with your mortality at so young. It's incredible.
It really is. It really is. And, like my parents, I mean, I have to pay some tribute to them. Like my mom, what she went through in her life, like just imagine, my mom was, she survived the concentration camps in Nazi Germany when she was just a young teenager. So she was like 14. She went through 13 different concentration camps. Okay, survived that, lost her parents, lost a sister and 2 brothers in the camps. I mean, talk about loss and pain and suffering. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then in 1983, for her to be told that she has cancer, like, oh my God, like how much more does one person have to go through? And her attitude to the doctor, she just pointed, she had the number on her arm, the tattooed number on her arm, and she said to the doctor, she said, Hitler didn't get me, my cancer won't get me. She was just simple as that. She said, I have too much to live for. She just, I don't want to say she blew it off because of course she didn't,
Right.
But it was more like, that didn't get me, so like, for God's sakes, this isn't going to get me. I'll fight this. If I get through that, I could fight this, And
wow, that's awesome.
What's that?
That's awesome that she had that spirit. Like, just, but no kidding, that to go through 3 different camps and then lose your family, essentially, right? And then have camp. She's like, that's nothing. Just get this going on. And then, it's too bad that she didn't survive it. But I could just imagine that she was just a warrior.
Well, she lived in 1983 when she was diagnosed. I only learned this later in talking to her doctors. When they first found her cancer, they had given her 2 years tops.
Wow.
With strongest chemo back at that time, 2 years tops, and she passed away in 2004, 21 years later. She defied every textbook case of her cancer. So for me, in terms of a role model, I looked at her and I think of what she went through in her life, and I think, yes, it's terrible, especially for a woman. I'm sure for a man too, but to lose your hair, like.
Yeah.
And I remember just bringing myself back to reality when you have those moments of like, like, oh, poor me, oh my God, that kind of feeling. I go like, oh my God, so what? So big deal. So I lose my hair. I got a wig. I did wear a wig. I didn't do the ball cap thing back in when 94. It was not as chic as it is today. I think women are much more open and it's more common now. I don't know if that sounds bad, but do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, it's acceptable more. Some ladies actually just rather than putting on the wig or wearing the head wrap, just go full bald, and and people just realize that it's cancer is everywhere now. It's a part of our. It's sad to say, but it's no longer as taboo as it used to be, and it's just part of our day-to-day life. And you see people in supermarkets all the time or down at the movie theater, bald as can be, and they have no eyebrows, they're going through cancer, and and that's fine. But still, I understand. For you in the 90s, probably the hat was the way to go. Or a wig.
Oh yeah, and I don't know. I just kept thinking like this could be so much worse. I just kept thinking it could be so much worse. Like I live in Canada, I have it pretty darn good.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yes, this sucks, but I just got to deal with it. And it's interesting though because I did not really. One of the lessons I would say that I learned is the idea of reaching out for support. And it took me a while to learn that lesson because I just sort of felt like I had to do it on my own.
Right.
And I didn't want to be a burden on anybody, and I didn't want to get help. And even my husband at the time, and notice how I say at the time, we're not married anymore, but he, never dawned on him to like drive me to my treatments or make an effort to do certain things that you would think would be natural, but I never asked.
Right.
I never asked. And the first time that somebody offered to take me to a treatment, my first reaction was like, oh, no, I'm fine. And finally the person says, no, like I want to take you. And it just like really hit me that this person really wanted to do this for me.
Yeah,
and I thought how nice it would be to actually have some support and have somebody be there for me. And I realized, there is absolutely no shame in accepting support from people. Because like I'm there for everybody else, and I do it because I love doing it. It makes me feel good. So I thought, this person wants to do it because it makes her feel good to be there for me. So why would I deny her feeling good?
Yeah, and that's, Roslyn, I always talk to, I'm also a certified empowerment coach, so I do this on the side for, just because I love helping people. But I always tell people that, whether it's cancer or whether you're just in a rough boat, whether you lost your job or the economy or, you split up with your spouse, never refuse a helping hand that's reached out to you because one day it'll be your hand doing the same.
Exactly. Well put.
Yeah. And that's just the way it is. For me, I live in Lethbridge, which is about 2 hours south of Calgary. And when I was diagnosed, I just switched careers. I didn't have any benefits, so I was kind of like you. I was just kind of a bum in the eyes of the world because I was just collecting I got EI insurance for 15 weeks, and I had to collect Canada pension at the age of 34 for just about 3 years. So I maxed out at $600 a month, which was like just a real eye-opener to the world, that side of the world. And then my wife she just graduated from college, so she was an entry-level job. You know, we were just married, not quite 3 years. And I spent the first 5 months in the hospital in Calgary as an inpatient. So she came every weekend up to Calgary. Friday, got there about 6, came back some night about 8 or 9 o'clock, and did that for 5 months.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is totally amazing.
Never complained, and I know she was tired, and I know she was stressed, and she was, freaking out. But you know how it is when you go through cancer, and you both want to be strong. Like you're probably wanting to be strong for your mom, and she's wanting to be strong for you. And it was almost kind of funny at times. But yeah, I lucked out, and I had, I have an amazing woman in my life, so that was pretty crazy. But yeah, never say no to someone that wants to help you out.
Definitely. That's a huge one. And that's why I do what I do, like in my coaching, right? I help people with weight issues and stress issues and emotional eating and that type of stuff, and really change. How do you change habits? How do you and so many people, what makes it so difficult is people are trying to do it alone, and having somebody to talk to, having somebody to be accountable to, can make a huge difference. When you know there's somebody on the other end who actually cares and who's actually listening, can make a huge difference, no matter what it is, like you said.
Anybody can say to you, you know what, you probably gained about 25 pounds. You should lose some weight. And you're like, yeah, well, you go to the gym, you work out, you try it, and you fall. Or you go on a diet, and you fall off the diet and stuff. Like, oh, come on, it's easy. Go back to the gym. That's not being accountable for that person, right? That's telling that person what they should be doing. But whereas you have, like coaching is fantastic because you're right. You have somebody on the other end that is accountable and that actually cares about your outcome, your better well-being. And I think that is it's such a great business to be in. I love it.
It is. I love it. And it's challenging sometimes because it's all about getting the word out and people knowing that you're there and knowing what you do, and that's why, like you mentioned at the top of the show that like I do all the media stuff that I do because it's letting people know here's my book, it's available, here's my website, and go learn about something that's out there, whether it might not be for everyone, but if it's right for you right at this time, then do it, and one of the things, Darren, I say is there's two different kinds of people in this world. There's what I call the wish eyes. Those are the people who just go through life saying, oh, I wish I could lose weight and get in shape. I wish I could quit smoking. I wish I could have more money. I wish I could, change careers or whatever it is. And they never do anything about it. They talk about it. They think about it, but they don't know how to get out of that comfort zone, to take that risk, to take that step, right, from thinking about it and talking about it to that action step, right? And then there's that other kind of person who I call the watch me, right? So they may have started out wishing for something, but then they get to that point where enough is enough, where they get so fed up of wishing that they finally say, you know what, I'm going to lose weight and get in shape. I'm going to take charge of my life. I'm going to change careers or whatever it is. You just watch me. And so that's what I love doing, is I love taking people from wish I to watch me. How do you make that leap? What is it that you need to set up inside yourself to allow that to happen? And it's phenomenal what happens when you take that leap. Like for me, when I was 39, so 10 years after cancer, right, I'd already lost my health, so you'd think I would be very, very health conscious, but at 39, I literally got on the scale one day and saw that I was at my heaviest weight ever. And I just looked at it and go, this makes no sense. And I'm a smart person. I'm pretty logical in my thinking, but this had nothing to do with logic, I'll tell you. And I stood there, and this was a few months after my mom passed away, and my dad has had quintuple bypass surgery in 1989, so there's heart disease on my dad's side of the family. And I just stood there on the scale and going like, enough. And that was the turning point. And I think people have to we come to turning points in our life where we have to make a choice as to, are we going to do something to better ourselves, or are we going to allow ourselves to continue down a path that is so not in our best interest, that is not serving us to have the best quality of life that we can possibly have. And I'm sure you can relate that once you've been through cancer, life is about having the best quality of life you can possibly have.
That's right. And life is about living your life to the fullest, doing the things you want to do. And I love that wish. That's awesome. That is so awesome. And that's essentially what my life's all about. I'm not going to wish that I wish I could do this, wish I could do that. I'm just going to go do it because I know how precious, and we take life for granted far too often. I mean, people, say, what are you saving for? I understand you have to have money in your bank account to pay your bills, that kind of stuff, but what are you really saving for? You never know. You can go out tomorrow and get hit by a car. So, I mean, do things that you want to do now before you can't do it. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. And I love what I do, and I don't see myself stopping doing what I'm doing, and I'm married to a wonderful man now. I mean, I got that right this time around, and he's a professional entertainer. He's a comedy magician, so not too many dull moments in my house, and I love it. I just love it. I love the creativity for both of us, what we do in our work, and just the passion for making people happy. That's really, we share that in common. And to me, so much of what makes me happy is to know that if I've had an impact on someone else, that they're happy. I don't mean like a joke where they're laughing for a minute. I'm talking about where they take on a new outlook on life, that all of a sudden they're feeling lighter, not just according to a number on the scale, but lighter just mentally and emotionally, because they're viewing life from a different way. They're making choices for themselves from a different place, and that's so empowering. So empowering.
That is fantastic, Roslyn. Those are great for anybody to live by. That's just unbelievable. And I think that your husband's a comedian. What did you say it was? Comedian.
A comedy magician.
Fun. Actually, I laugh and joke about things all the time. I joke through my cancer, and I laugh about things. And my wife said I don't take things too serious, and should take things more serious, but I can't, because the fact that it's just who I am. So my lifelong dream has been to do a stand-up comedy. And I'm going to do an amateur night tomorrow night in Calgary.
Oh, fantastic. I wish I could be there.
It's going to be so much. Even if I stink it out, I don't care. I mean, I'm 42. I'll be 42 years old this year, so I'm 41 right now. And, I mean, I'm not waiting for things to, for what might not even happen. So I'm just going to go do all the things I can do while I'm still able to do it. And that's kind of like what you talk about. I'm not wishing for anything. I know what I want, and I'm going to go after it.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of people who don't know what they want, or they don't
And that's
stop.
why they need the Roslyn Franken and the Darren Neubergers of the world. Power.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's what I do. It's what I do.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you and I finally connected, and I'm happy you could come on the show tonight. I know you had an engagement today as well. I think you were doing a seminar, weren't you, or something on telephone?
I did, yes. I had a teleseminar earlier this evening. So, I'm glad to be here. And of course, if anybody has any questions or wants to know more about me or about my book or about my services or anything, they could go to my website, and you could probably post it to the Roslyn Franken. RoslynFranken.com. It's a mouthful in terms of how to spell it. So RoslynFranken.com or the alistbook.com. Either one will get them. We'll get them there.
I'll put them on my Facebook page later on. Thanks for coming on. And I'm just starting to branch out to the inspirational speaker world. And if you ever have room for another speaker, don't hesitate to look me up. I have a pretty crazy story, and I'm pretty funny. And I empower a lot of people. So.
Well, vice versa, and
exactly.
I'd love to stay in touch with you.
Definitely. Thanks for coming on, Roslyn, and have a fantastic night. And I'm so excited to finally meet you.
Thank you. Same here.
All right.
Take care. Bye bye.
All right.
Bye bye.
Fantastic show, Roslyn Franken I told you, amazing lady. That was my last show of the summer, exactly how I wanted to go out for the summer. Thank you very much, Roslyn. And I will have her information posted on my Facebook and my website. Darren Neuberger saying adios. I'll see you back in September.